The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Friday in the Riv. And a busy Friday it has been. Big news breaking recently.
Seems like the past couple of days, it's always had is news, and more news.
That's it. Yes. So what news do we want to?
Well, I think we should break some of the most important news that it all. Higher taxes, more fees.
What a surprise.
What a surprise. According to our sources, who are very reliable as they are members of the city council, you'll notice I said plural, the city of Fall River has been advised by the Department of Revenue that they cannot, I'll say again, cannot use ARPA money to balance the budget. That's $4.5 million. $4.5 million that the mayor used to balance his budget. The Department of Revenue has informed the city that they must recalculate their lost revenue to determine the actual amount of ARPA money they can use, which is obviously going to be less than the $4.5 million. Now, it gets even better. The city is still on the hook for $1.6 million to the school system to meet net school spending. So 4.5 plus 1.6 is 6.1. Well, it's getting to be a little ridiculous. But wait, let's just give the administration, give Paul Coogan a little bit of a break here. Let's say they recover $2 million in the way he wants to, because he wants to take $2 million out of the health care account. And I know you're going to have some comments about that, Chip. I can see them already on your face.
Yeah, well.
So,
yeah.
And to top it all off, this gets even better. The city still hasn't had its tax rate certified. And until their budget is balanced, they can't get it certified, which means the city can't issue the tax bills in January, which means the city has no revenue to pay the bills after January 1st. And this is what happens when you take a budget and shove it down the throats of the city council. This is an action by the mayor solely. This is his fault. His fault solely.
Well, I guess that is huge news. But, before I even get into the specifics of this, CJ, I was thinking about this yesterday when we saw, well, we knew this was coming anyway. It's kind of a vindication, but also a little criticism of the lack of courage of the city council to not pursuing that suit about the opera money, because they didn't want to, we want to make sure that we've got everybody on board. Well, everybody knew this is probably a stretch using this money. And, if you have the taxpayers at heart, you should have really wanted to pursue that suit. And everybody said, well, if we lose it, we're wasting money. Well, no, you're fighting for the taxpayer. Apparently, that's the issue. So that's my issue with the council not pursuing it. They showed, and the ones who supported it, kudos to them. And I know that a councilor that's been getting a lot of grief from some of the people that are with the mayor and who are supporting people who are running. Michelle Dion was a staunch proponent of pushing that lawsuit, and So were others. And so kudos to them. They should have done it. But look, you know what I was thinking of yesterday? It's like, this is really, really predictable. The problem we have is with a Paul Coogan for mayor and any mayor who comes in to sit in that office for 1 or 2 terms. Think about this. What motivation does he have to keep tax rates down and bills down? He doesn't care. He's going to be gone in 1 or 2 terms. You think he really cares about what he's going to do with mortgaging the future of our grandchildren? Continuing to pull bonds, never get the city's financial house in order? Of course he doesn't. I mean, this is all politics. I love Fall River. That's why you left. You were gone for years. You only came back to run for public office. And if you're going to be in public office for 1 or 2 terms, and you can live on your retirement and bank your whole mayoral check, you gotta question whether you really care or not, because you don't care. You're going to kick the can down the road and you're going to be gone. I guarantee you he won't be living in Fall River when he's no longer the mayor for very long. He's going to pull a Kathy Ann Viveris. And he's going to bail out again. But, and look, as you said, to be fair, but of course the mayor's office is the most important office because they put down budgets. They put us in debt with their programs. If you're going to be the mayor like Eddie Lambert was for a decade or so, or Carlton Viveris, and you wanted to stay in office, and that was going to be because you really wanted to be the mayor, not just a temporary placeholder, you have more motivation to be a little bit more prudent with the way you spend the taxpayers' money. And he just plugged up this budget like the little Dutch boy putting his finger in a dike so he could get one more term and hope that this wouldn't hit before the election. And as you said, to be perfectly, fair, he's not the only one that's done this. It's the highest level, and it's not real. But it's just like people who take a chief of a department's job, a head of a department's job, and they only sit in there for the amount of time it's going to take to bump their pension up. So they're not there because they really want that job. They're there because they want a bigger pension or they want more money. Because, there were people like Louis Shea. Years ago, we had chiefs who stayed in as chief for decades. Louis Shea was, God, I can't remember how long he was chief, but very long time. I know one thing, when I got on the job, he was not the chief. Tommy Moore wasn't. Tommy Moore had been chief for years. And when Louis Shea took over, while I was still a firefighter, I went through lieutenant, captain, chief, and was a chief for a very long time before he finally retired. They stayed there because they truly loved the department and they wanted to be in charge of the department. But then we've had people that go into the job, sit there for, at the time it was 3 years, and now it's 5, but they sat in there for the time it took to bump their pension up, or as long as they could to bump their pension up, and then they take a walk. And the only difference is between those people is at least they've kind of paid their dues. If they want to get that job and keep it for a few years and bump up their pension, they at least spent 30 years or 25 years in that department. When you get politicians, they just run into office, rape and pillage, and then leave like a thief in the night. So that's what I see about this whole scenario. This is a budget planned by somebody who doesn't care what its long-range effects are. It was a short-term budget because he's only a short-term mayor. He may be a full-time, he's calling himself a full-time mayor, but he's not going to be a full-time mayor for very long because he doesn't want to be here for more than 2 terms. He can't be here because his successor is already picked. This is a budget that was fashioned by somebody who said, let's just plug up all the holes, even if it's legal or not legal, and just let me get another term. And after this, I don't care what happens. I don't care if the city falls apart financially. And there is another criticism I have. I don't see, well, the primary's over, but I was very disappointed not to hear his opponent say that he was going to have a full financial audit of this city, because that's what we need. We need to know where we are financially. Nobody knows. You got Mary Sahadi up there. She's like 3-card Willie in the fast shuffle. She'll just say anything and do anything just to get it through. And they don't have answers half the time. But the thing is, this is a budget pushed by a guy who doesn't worry about the long-term effects, because he's not a long-term mayor. He's a short-term mayor. And he knows it. He campaigned on that. And that's not good. Even though my philosophy is, if they're not doing a job, throw them out. That philosophy means if they're not doing a job in their first term, you throw them out. You don't give them another term to do damage. So ultimately, we may get another mayor in there that wants to remain the mayor of Fall River for a while. And only when you're there for a while can you truly turn this city around. Well, that was that on that. We'll get into the other stuff later. So I'll let you weigh in on that little pondering I was doing the other night.
Well, it's just interesting because, again, we potentially can't have our tax rate certified. We have a $6 million shortfall somewhere. Several city councils are asking the administration for the actual shortfall, the actual deficit, and they can't get that information. Either the administration hasn't calculated it yet, or they're not going to provide it, which either way doesn't matter, because remember, this is Paul Coogan's budget. This isn't the city council's budget. And I said to somebody yesterday, they said to me, where have you been hiding? Because this isn't the first mayor that's done this. This was somebody, obviously a Cooganite, who was trying to defend Paul. But this isn't the first mayor that's done this. Other mayors have done the same thing. I said, no. I said, but this is why for the past decade, I've been asking for a forensic audit. All of a sudden, crickets. Crickets.
Yeah.
So it always works that way.
Well,
and it really bothers me when people want to come out and defend Paul Coogan or even Cliff Ponte, and they don't know what they're talking about. They've got to get their facts straight. No other mayor, to the best of my knowledge, has filled a budget with one-time money and questionable funds, opera money, and shoved it down the city council's throat. And if you remember the budget hearings, I don't know, you don't like to watch because you like to bang your head stuff in the head with a hammer.
I watch them in pieces.
But Michelle Dion and Sean Kadim predicted this would happen. They were very clear on this prediction. They knew this would happen. And the administration didn't care.
Well, CJ, number one, whoever the Cooganite was who put that in, and I got a new name for him. I got Camo Coogan, because he camouflages himself and hides. We had hiding Biden, and we got Camo Coogan hiding himself somewhere. But look, number one, it is the first time this has happened, because it's the first time anybody ever heard of opera money.
Right.
Okay, so nobody's ever used opera money improperly. So he was the first. So he can go in the Hall of Fame. He's the first guy to misappropriate opera money, because he's the first guy that had opera money to misappropriate. So that's number one. But another point that has to be made is that the budget and its numbers have never, ever been actually corroborated. And I don't care if they went to Joe DiNucci for a performance audit. This is all political crap. You need an outside like we did on the healthcare. And by the way, on the healthcare, I don't know where the money is coming from, but they may be violating the law on that too. I don't know if he's talking about the projected savings in the new plan that's being discussed, because that money is not going to be around till the end of next year. That plan would not take effect until January 1st, and the projected savings are for the next year, for the year 2022. So that money isn't even around. Okay? That money isn't even around except in bits and pieces because of the premium. But it's far too complex for Paul to figure out. And it's not $2.3 million of the savings, which was projected. It's 1.7 because 25% of that money is employee money. So number one, all the numbers are always off. But I will remind the city and the councilors who are watching, I urge you to go to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 32B, and read Section 3A. It says clearly, and I'm paraphrasing now, I can look it up, but I don't even want to have the time, but I know it pretty well. It says that the treasurer shall maintain enough money in the city trust fund to cover incurred but not reported bills and other eventualities. It's not eventualities. I can look it up while you're talking and read it. But the city is mandated, and they never have. How many times have we seen them go in front of the city council and say, and be asked, how much money do you have in your trust fund? And they go, $500,000. Really? Well, the employees have got $6 million, and you're supposed to have 3 times as much, but they don't handle that money. They're not required. But they are required by law to keep enough money to pay incurred reported. And I'm going to tell you right now, and this is a fact, and we can go get Will Flanagan and Kathy Ann Viveris, and Mary Sahadi knows this because she was still around. Not in the capacity she is now, but she was around. The reason the city attempted to go to the GIC years ago was it was the only premium plan that they could get because they would absorb the incurred but not reported runoff claims. And you know what they are, CJ, because you deal with it like I do. These are the claims that you get, overlapping claims from the plan you left, and that can last up to a year. First 3 to 6 months, you get all the billing for the last 3 months, 4 months, because they have a year to put in those bills. So all those claims are still coming in. Let's say you went from Blue Cross to Harvard Pilgrim. So all the Blue Cross billing that you had for the last 3 or 4 months, that beat people sometimes they bill you a month later, 2 months later. All that billing are what they call incurred but not reported claims. They're going to come in. You have to pay your bill to them because they were your carrier. And now if you had Harvard Pilgrim, you're getting the current bills. So you need that overlap needs a cushion, and that cushion is mandated by law. And it is in Section 32B, Section 3A. So read it. All you say, you're making this stuff up. I'm not making it up. Go read the damn law. And for once, somebody hold this city to abiding by the law. They have allowed them to go below the amount for years and never called them on it. Okay, CJ, it's yours.
How can I beat that?
No. I mean,
Well, let me just 3A is pretty long, by the way, just so you know. It's not something small.
Yeah, but it's that one section. It's that one section that's down there. Yeah, it's that the first part is actually, something. Hang on one second. I might disappear. I won't disappear from the screen, but I got to go into it because I excerpt it in one of the letters I wrote. Let me see.
It's just very interesting because, as you know, if they're considering that $2 million or $2.3 million, And as you said, we don't have it yet. Isn't it amazing how magic money comes back? I thought when Sam Sutter left, we lost magic money.
Okay. Can you still see me, CJ?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I just pulled it up. This is the excerpt. This is the section because 3A is very long, but the first part is who the law applies to and blah, blah,
Everyone
blah.
except Worcester County.
That's right, Worcester. This is it. This is a quote in a letter that I sent to the state association about what they do with their money. Quote, Massachusetts General Law 32B, Section 3A. Quote, the treasurer shall take measures that will assure a sufficient balance at all times in said fund to make prompt payment for incurred and unpaid claims and other related liabilities, unquote. That is the law. That is the law, and this city has never, and I've been complaining about it, not for decades, for multiple decades, that this city doesn't handle its money well because they end up trying to screw the employees with their health care because they're always out of money and we're always running under budget, yet they don't have any money because what do they do with it? They urinate it into a hole somewhere. That is the section. That is the excerpt. Go read it. You know, if I see if I, you know, one thing I can do actually is, you know, at least adequately read English, and that's what the law says.
And you're expecting the administration to do that? It's not like he was a teacher or anything.
Yeah. Not like God. He can articulate his position because he was supposed to be an educator. No, of course not. But this, look, this is a travesty. A community that puts together a budget with Band-Aids and gum, plugging up holes just for political reasons. This is the reason that he did what he did, that he waited the time limit and then jammed it down their throat because the city council, Sean Kadim, Michelle Dion, all the rest of the people except for his bobbleheads that are on the council, and there are a couple of those, they would have gutted this budget and showed the holes. He wanted to end the debate on the structural deficits and the holes in the budget and the one-time money. Because as you said so clearly at the beginning of this, Sean Kadim articulated it. Michelle Dion called him out on it. He wanted to end the debate. So, okay, that's it. I'm going to work on it, but I'm not really going to work on it. I'm just going to ram it down your throat. But guess what? Guess who just got vindicated? The city council.
Yes.
The city council. Camo Coogan was hiding in the bushes, tried to get this in before the election, but he didn't.
Well, now let's get to the higher taxes and fees.
That's my favorite part.
Here's the way, or I should say, here are the options the mayor has. The mayor has, because remember, this is the mayor's budget. This isn't the city council's budget. This is the mayor's budget. These are the options the mayor has. His first option is to enact the debt exclusion, which means higher taxes, which means he's going to violate his own promises, and we're going to go into the debt exclusion 6 months early. 2, lay off personnel and public safety officials. Can't do that. That won't look good in an election year, so we can't do that. Not a good thing. Not a good thing at all. And the last thing is to raise taxes and fees, which means he'll have to seek a 2.5 override immediately to start charging more money, more taxes, and he'll start raising fees because he has to do it that way. So the new mayor, the taxing mayor, okay, that we have, the new taxing mayor, because that's what he's doing to meet the requirements of this budget, is what's going to happen. So let's see what his solution is to pull this out of his backside.
But you know, this is the what a travesty this is, because every option you read. Now, two of those options are fundamentally the same. Whether you raise taxes through a debt exclusion or you override 2.5, which is fundamentally the same thing, you're going to get high. You have an option of paying more taxes, and of course they're going to raise fees, or having less services. Less services, less public safety, less of everything, less DCM, less of everything with your tax dollar. But I can guarantee you, all those fat pay raises he had in this budget are going to, he's still going to try to keep them in effect. So remember, taxpayer, first of all, if you have to vote on a debt override, I mean, on a waiver of tax override of 2.5, that thing should go down in flames. And if he puts in the debt exclusion or talks about some other ridiculous thing that he shouldn't be doing, like bonding, and that, by the way, nobody mentioned that affects our bond rating too.
And
this catastrophe affects our bond rating, by the way. Yes, it does. So everything he's saying is he's taking a baseball bat to the head of every taxpayer and renter.
Now, the last big option he has is to transfer the money out of the stabilization account. Again, that's using one-time money. He needs the approval of the city council to do that. And that's a 2/3 vote of the city council, not a simple majority. So what happens is this. He uses the stabilization money for this year's shortfall, and it creates a structural deficit for next year of $6 million. Right off the bat. So right off the bat, the budget's starting with a $6 million deficit. So again, it's not a good thing for Fall River. And as you said, it's going to affect our bond ratings. It's going to affect our credit worthiness. It's going to affect our ability to take long and short-term bonds. And we're the ones that are going to pay for it, because what ends up happening is with the poor credit rating, with the poor bond rating, we have to pay higher interest fees, which means the taxpayer pays higher interest fees.
Yeah.
Not a good thing.
No, none of it is good, CJ. And just that, I got to get back to something that you said it earlier. The guy, they asked, where were you? I'll tell you where you were. You were here. We've been on the air about 9 years now, almost 9 years. And we've been calling for a forensic audit. We've been calling this out for every mayor. This guy's the worst we've ever seen. But the reality is that we've been calling out. And, you know, I like that thing. These people that are looking for something and doing, well, you know, we're not looking for anything. We're not getting paid to do this. I've been doing the healthcare in this city, fighting for the employees for 40 years. I don't get paid for it. I'm the guy that pulled them out of the GIC and saved the prescription drug plans. I'm there in the city hall all the time fighting. And you can ask any other union head that's on a PEC. I'm fighting right now with the city. So don't pretend that we're some guys that don't do anything. We're out there trying to make a difference in Fall River. So that when they say that, it really pisses me off.
Well, I understand. Just a few announcements because we're at the end of our show. Next week on Wednesday, we are going to attempt to transition back to our home, our studio. And let's hope that can work out. We would have done it on Monday, but the time issue just doesn't work out for the school and for us. So we'll be doing that on Wednesday. And our live broadcast time on YouTube will change from 9 to 10 a.m. So be looking forward to it. I know I'm looking forward to getting back into the city, into the studio. I want to thank you all for watching. Have a wonderful weekend. Remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. Thanks for watching.
No.